The cold walls of Korbak's prime prison were silent, as always. This prison was not made for noise. It was made for fear. Deep under the rocky surface of the planet, inside a dark cell, sat a young woman with silver blue eyes. Her name was Leora, though no one here used names. They called her only prisoner, 626. Her clothes were torn. Her wrists were marked from tight cuffs, yet her back was always straight. Her face was calm, even proud. She never cried. She never spoke. The guards often wondered about her. She was not like the others. Most prisoners begged or screamed, but Leora simply stared at the wall, quiet and distant. What they didn't know was this: Leora was once Queen of Valerian, ruler of a proud and powerful alien race. The Dominion had invaded her world, destroyed her people, and taken her prisoner. To survive, she hid her identity. If the Dominion knew who she really was, she would have been killed long ago. Now, she waited. For what even she did not know. One day, everything changed. At first it was just a small noise barely noticed, a low rumble under the floor. Then came shouting, blaster fire, explosions. The prison shook. Sirens blared. The guards ran down the halls, confused and afraid. Lights flickered. Something was wrong, very wrong. In her cell, Leora looked up. Her heart beat faster, but her face stayed calm. She heard doors breaking open, prisoners shouting. A fight. Then the metal door to her cell opened. A man stood there. He was human, with sharp eyes and a serious face. He held a weapon in one hand, but he didn't point it at her. Leora stared at him. She didn't move. The man stepped forward slowly. His voice was calm. "Are you the one they call 626? She nodded once. He looked into her eyes for a long moment, as if searching for something. Then he dropped to one knee. "Your Highness," he said softly, "I've come for you." Leora's eyes widened, just a little. No one had called her that in years. "Who are you?" "Human resistance. We fight the Dominion. We need you." Without another word, he pulled out a small device and unlocked her cuffs. She rubbed her wrists slowly. The skin was red, but her eyes were steady. "Can you walk?" Jace asked. She nodded again. He led her out into the hallway, where two more humans waited. One of them, a woman with short hair and a serious look, glanced at Leora and frowned. "You risked everything for one prisoner," she asked Jace. "Not just any prisoner," Jace said. "She's the key." They ran through the halls. Smoke filled the air. Blaster fire echoed behind them. Other prisoners escaped, running in all directions. Leora followed Jace without asking questions. She had learned long ago, sometimes silence was the strongest weapon. Soon they reached the landing bay. A small human ship waited there, its engines already humming. As more guards appeared, firing at them from behind, Jace turned and shot back. Protecting Leora, they ran up the ramp and into the ship. The doors closed behind them, just as the engines roared to life. Inside the ship, everything was tense. The crew didn't speak much. Everyone was focused. Leora sat quietly in the corner, wrapped in a blanket. Her body was tired, but her mind was awake. She watched these humans closely. They were different from the Dominion soldiers. They helped each other. They shared food. One of them even offered her water without being told. And Jace, he sat across from her, cleaning his weapon but also watching her. "You didn't ask why I came," he said finally. "I don't need to," she replied. "You already told me enough," Jace nodded slowly. "We've been searching for you for years," Ruma said. "The Dominion kept a high-level prisoner. When I saw your file, I knew." "Why do you care?" she asked. "I am not human." He smiled, just a little. "Because you're not a prisoner. You're a queen, and queens don't belong in chains." Leora looked away, hiding her emotion. Her heart felt heavy. For so long she had been alone, forgotten. Now someone remembered who she was. Later that night, the crew sat around a small table, eating and resting. Jace introduced Leora to the others. "This is Leora," he said. She's one of the last of the Valeri. She helped defend her world until the end. The others listened, unsure. Why save her? One man asked. We're low on food, fuel, everything. Jace looked at them with quiet strength. Because the Dominion fears her, he said. That means she's important, and we don't leave people like her behind. Leora watched them all. These humans had courage, even if they didn't understand her yet. For the first time in years, she felt something deep inside. Not just survival, not just pain. Hope as the ship jumped into hyperspace. Leora stood at the window, staring at the stars. She did not know what waited in the days ahead. She did not know why Jace truly saved her, but she did know this. She was no longer just a prisoner. She was something more, and perhaps, just perhaps, it was time for the galaxy to remember the name Queen Leora once again. The ship called the Valiant soared through space, leaving the broken prison planet Corvax Prime behind. Inside, the crew moved, fast checking systems and watching screens. They had escaped, but danger was still close. Dominion ships could be following them. Commander Jace Thorne stood in the cockpit beside the pilot, giving orders. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Any sign of pursuit? But there, probably tracking us. Jace nodded. He knew the Dominion would not let their prize go easily, not after losing Queen Lara. In the back of the ship, Leora sat alone. She looked out the small window, watching stars rush by in glowing streams. Space was silent, but her heart was not. It had been so long since she had seen open skies, felt the hum of a ship beneath her. For years, she was trapped in a cell. Walked over and gave her a warm drink. It's called Calf, he said with a smile. Helps you stay awake. Leora accepted it with a small nod. She took a sip. It was bitter, but warm. Thank you, she said softly. Ren looked surprised. You speak very clearly, I thought. I thought you didn't talk much. Leora looked at him with a calm gaze. I speak when I need to. He laughed nervously and walked away. Jace came in a moment later and sat across from her. We'll reach safe space soon, he said. After that, we'll go to a hidden base. You'll be safe there. Leora looked at him carefully. Did you save me? She asked again. Because you matter, he said. Your people were one of the few who stood against the Dominion. You were brave, and now you might be the spark we need. Spark, she asked. A symbol, he replied. Someone to remind us what we're fighting for. Leora stayed quiet. She had once led armies. Now she was just one person in a small ship. Could she still be a symbol? Later, the ship shook. Alarms began to beep. The pilot shouted from the cockpit. 2 Dominion ships just appeared behind us. They must have tracked our jump signal. Jace ran to the front. Evasive maneuvers. Get us into the asteroid field. The pilot turned the ship sharply. Leora stood and followed Jace. Through the window, she saw the 2 Dominion fighters getting closer. They fired bright blue blasts that shook the Valiant. The crew held on as the ship flew between large spinning asteroids. Rocks smashed into each other. One Dominion ship hit an asteroid and exploded in flames. But the second ship kept chasing. Weapons ready? Jace asked. We lost our main cannon in the last mission, the pilot shouted. Jace gritted his teeth. Then we fight with what we have. What? Suddenly, Leora stepped forward. Let me help, she said. Jace looked at her. Do you know how to use our systems? She nodded. Valeri's ships were more advanced. I learned to fly when I was 10. Jace gave a quick nod, then come with me. Leora sat at the co-pilot station. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. She found the weak systems and strengthened them. She turned on the small rear blaster and aimed it manually. The Dominion ship got closer. She waited, then fired. The blast hit the enemy's left wing. The Dominion ship spun out of control and hit another asteroid. The crew cheered. The Valiant was safe again for now. Jace looked at Leora impressed. That was a good shot. She didn't smile, but her eyes showed something, a small fire. I may not wear a crown, she said, but I have not forgotten how to fight. After the danger passed, the crew gathered in the main room. Jace stood in the center and spoke. "This is Leora," he said. "She's not just another rescued prisoner. She is the lost queen of Valerian." The crew looked at her with surprise and awe. "The Dominion tried to erase her name," Jace continued. "But they failed. She is alive, and she chose to fight." The crew clapped, some softly, some loudly. Even those who were unsure before now looked at her with respect. Leora stepped forward. "I do not seek a throne," she said, "but I will not let the Dominion control my people's fate or yours." The room went quiet, and one voice spoke. "Then we follow you, Queen Leora," said Ren. That night, the stars outside were peaceful again. Leora stood on the viewing deck, staring at the galaxy. Jace joined her. "You've changed already," he said quietly. "I haven't changed," she replied. "I just remembered who I am." He nodded. "The galaxy will remember too." She turned to look at him. For the first time, there was softness in her voice. "Why do you believe in me so much?" He smiled. "Because I've seen leaders. And I've seen survivors. You are both." For a long moment, they stood side by side, watching the stars. And in that silence, something new was born. Trust. The stars moved slowly outside the windows of the Valiant, the small human resistance ship. Inside, things were quiet. The crew was tired, but they were safe for now. Leora, once a prisoner, now sat in the meeting room with Commander Jace Thorne and the rest of his team. They had escaped the Dominion, they had survived a battle, the journey was far from over. The crew sat around a long table, looking at Leora with curious eyes. Some still didn't fully trust her, others looked at her with respect. No one spoke, everyone waited. Leora stood up slowly. She looked calm, but her heart was heavy. "It was time to tell the truth. My name is Leora Valen," she began. "I was born on the world of Valerian. My mother was Queen Sorella, and my father was High General Kalen." Some gasped, others leaned forward. "I was trained from childhood to lead my people," she continued. "We believed in honor, knowledge, and peace. But when the Dominion came, they gave us a choice: surrender or die." She paused. Her voice remained steady. "We chose to fight." The room was silent. Leora looked at her hands. They were scarred and rough now. Queen's hands should have worn silk. Hers had worn chains. "My people lost everything," she said. "The Dominion destroyed our cities. My parents were killed. I was captured and taken to Corvax Prime." She looked up at Jace. "I never thought I would leave that prison, but then you came." Jace didn't speak. His eyes met hers, full of quiet understanding. The crew sat in silence, letting her words settle in. Then Terra, the ship's mechanic, spoke. "So, you're a real queen?" Leora gave a small nod. "Yes, but not in the way you might think. I was taught to lead, not just rule. A true queen serves her people first." "What do you want now?" Ren asked. "To take back your throne?" Leora looked out the window at the stars. "I want to help end the Dominion," she said. "It's not just for my people, but for all who suffer under them." He stepped forward. "And we'll help her," he said. "Because she's not just fighting for herself, she's fighting for all of us." Later, Jace and Leora walked through the ship together. "You didn't have to tell them everything," Jace said quietly. "They deserve to know the truth," Leora replied. "If I am to fight beside them, they must know who I am." Jace nodded. "You're brave," he said. She stopped walking. "I'm tired," she said, "but I can't give up." Jace looked at her. "Serious now. We've been searching for hope in this dark galaxy," he said. "Maybe you are that hope." Leora gave a small smile, the first in a long time. The next day, the ship landed on a hidden planet known only to the Resistance. It was a small green world with forests and rocky mountains. There was a secret base underground. Jace led Leora through the base. Human rebels, engineers, and fighters moved around, busy and focused. Some stopped to stare at Leora. News of the rescued queen had already spread. Jace brought her to a command room, where maps of the galaxy lit the walls. Red dots marked Dominion outposts. Blue ones showed rebel cells. "The Dominion is large," Jace said. "Too large for us to fight alone. But if we can unite others like the Valeri survivors, maybe we stand a chance." Leora touched one red dot on the map her homeworld. There are still Valeri out there, she whispered. Scattered. Hiding. But if they knew I was alive, they'd rise again, Jace said. Leora turned to him. Then let's find them. Over the next few days, Leora trained with the crew. She practiced shooting, helped fix equipment, and learned how the resistance worked. The crew slowly grew close to her. Tara taught her how to repair small engines. Ren showed her old Earth music. The pilot, Mira, told her stories about the stars. Leora laughed, once a small laugh, but real. Surprised even her. And through it all, Jace stayed near. He watched her with quiet pride. She was no longer a silent prisoner. She was becoming a leader again. One night, while looking at the stars, Jace joined her. You miss your people, he said. Every moment, she replied. We'll find them, he promised. She looked at him. Why do you care so much? She asked. He was quiet for a moment. Because we lost our own, he said. Earth is gone. The Dominion took it. We fight because it's the only way to survive. Leora placed a hand gently on his arm. Then we fight together. In the following days, Leora recorded a message in her native language, a call to the scattered Valeri, asking them to rise again and join her. The resistance sent it across secret channels. Hope began to spread. Whispered words filled the stars. The Queen lives. The Queen fights. At the end of the week, a small ship approached the base. It carried 2 Valeri survivors. They knelt before Leora when they saw her. We thought you were dead, one said with tears in his eyes. I live, she said. And I will not stop until our people are free. Jace stood beside her, watching. And at that moment, he understood something. She was more than a queen. She was a light in the darkness. The air on Valerian, once a bright and green world, was now heavy with dust and silence. Broken towers stood like skeletons. Black marks from old battles covered the ground. The once beautiful cities were nothing more than ruins. A small ship landed near the mountain range, where secret tunnels still ran deep under the surface. It was the same place where some Valeri warriors had taken shelter after the fall. Inside the ship, Queen Leora looked out the window with sad eyes. This was her home. But it felt like a ghost world now. Beside her stood Commander Jace Thorne, silent and watchful. He could feel her pain, though she spoke no words. Are you ready? He asked. She nodded. This is the moment I've waited for. The resistance crew and a few Valeri survivors stepped out of the ship. The wind howled. The air was dry. But Leora led them forward, down into the hidden tunnels. They walked through a long, dark path. Finally, they reached a large underground hall lit by old power lights. Inside were Valeri soldiers, dusty and tired but still alive. They wore old armor, marked with the Valeri sun symbol. At the center stood General Kale, one of Leora's oldest friends and commanders. His eyes widened when he saw her, walked forward slowly. It cannot be, he whispered. Leora, you are alive. She stepped closer. Yes, Kale, I survived, and I've come back. Kale dropped to one knee, but only for a moment. Then he stood, his face turning hard. Why are you with a human? He asked, nodding toward Jace. Leora answered calmly, because he saved me. Out. And because the humans fight the same enemy we do. Kale frowned. We don't trust humans. They joined the Dominion while we burned. Jace stepped forward. Not all of us. Some of us fought. And we still fight. Trap, he shouted. Security bots dropped from the ceiling. Kale's team drew their weapons. Back in the control room, the alarms rang loud. Red lights flashed. They know we're here, Jace said, finishing the upload. Virus is in. We need to get out. He and Leora ran into the hall. Guards were coming from both ends. Leora pulled him toward a side door. This way, she said. They entered a maintenance shaft. It was tight and dark, but it led down toward the docks. Meanwhile, Kale and his team fought their way out. Blaster fire lit the air. Kale held the crown shard tightly. Retreat, he ordered. Back to the ship. Jace and Leora burst into the docking bay. Their ship was there, engines on, ready. Kale's team arrived from the other side, running. Fast. Behind them, Dominion guards followed. Jace fired back, covering his team. Get on board. Everyone rushed into the ship. A guard aimed at Leora, but Kale blocked the shot and fired back. Leora helped Jace inside. The doors closed. The pilot launched. The ship blasted away from Dawnspire, just as enemy fighters began to chase. A space battle followed. The ship shook with hits. Shields dropped, but the pilot was skilled. She dove through clouds and energy storms around the gas giant. One Dominion ship crashed into lightning. Another got lost in the clouds. Finally, they jumped to hyperspace. Silence filled the ship. They had made it. In the quiet, Leora held the crown shard in her hands. It glowed softly, warm and alive. "We did it," she whispered. Jay sat beside her, his face covered in dirt and sweat. "That was too close," he said. She looked at him, her voice full of quiet strength. "This is just the beginning." The ship moved toward the stars. A message played through secret channels. It's a voice full of power and hope. "This is Queen Leora of Valerian. We are alive. We are rising. We are not alone." The stars outside flickered softly as the ship flew through deep space. Inside, the crew was quiet, tired, but proud. They had just escaped from Dawnspire, the Dominion's floating city. They had the crown shard, the powerful crystal that could awaken ancient Valeri technology. Now, they just needed time and a safe place to unlock its secrets. But time was something that Dominion never gave. Queen Leora sat in the main room of the ship, the crown shard glowing faintly in her hands. It pulsed like a heartbeat full of energy and memory. Across from her, Commander Jace Thorne watched silently. He could see the weight in her eyes. "Is it working?" he asked gently. "Not yet," Leora said, her voice soft. "It needs to be linked with a Valeri command station. Only then will it reveal the codes we need." Jace leaned forward. "Do you know where one is?" She nodded. "Yes, but it's not easy to reach." Before she could explain, the ship shook. Lights flickered. An alarm blared. "Enemy ships behind us," the pilot shouted. 2 Dominion cruisers closing in fast. Jace stood up at once. "Shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." Leora stood too, placing the shard into a secure case. The ship rattled again as blaster fire struck the rear. "We can't outrun them," said the pilot. "Engines are overheating." Jace looked at the map. One nearby planet appeared on the screen. "What's that?" "Stormvile 9, the pilot replied. "Unstable weather. Not a good place to land." Jace nodded quickly, "But a good place to hide." "Hold on," he called out. "We're going in." The ship dived into the atmosphere of Stormvile 9. The sky turned dark. Wind screamed outside. Purple lightning cracked across the clouds. Heavy storms slammed against the ship, shaking it hard. The engines roared as they pushed through the violent winds. "Brace for landing," the pilot shouted. The ship crashed through thick clouds, hit a rocky surface, and skidded into a canyon, finally stopping between 2 tall cliffs. Inside, everyone was thrown forward, but no one was seriously hurt. Smoke filled the cabin. Sparks. "Flue systems down," the engineer reported. "We're stuck." Rain poured outside. Wind howled through the broken rocks. The crew gathered supplies and prepared for defense. Walked beside Leora, holding a thermal blanket. "You all right?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "But the shard, if we lose it, everything ends." Jace nodded. "We'll protect it, all our lives if we must." As night fell, the crew huddled in the ship, surrounded by high winds and roaring thunder. Leora looked around at their tired faces. These people had risked everything for her, for hope. She stood and spoke. "The Dominion may come," she said. "They have ships, weapons, numbers. But they do not have what we have: courage, unity, and the will to rise." Her words gave warmth to the cold night. Even Kale, who had once doubted Jace, nodded in agreement. Hours later, a warning signal blinked red. "Incoming ship," said Wren. "Just one, small but fast." The crew rushed to their positions. Leora, holding the shard close, stood beside Jace. "Only one ship?" she asked. "A scout," he replied. They're checking if we're still alive. The scout ship landed nearby. A group of Dominion soldiers stepped out, weapons ready. Jace led a small team to intercept them. A short but fierce fight followed. Blaster fire lit up the stormy night. The wind made aiming hard. The ground was slippery. But Jace's team had the advantage of cover. The Dominion group fell one by one. Victory, but at a cost. As Jace returned, blood stained his side. Leora ran to him. "You're hurt," she said. He smiled through the pain. "Just a scratch." But it was more than that. He collapsed. Kale and the medic helped carry him inside. The medic patched the wound, but his voice was serious. "He needs rest." That shot came close to his heart. Leora sat beside Jace's bed, shielded his hand, and spoke softly. "You fought for me, for all of us. Now it's my turn." The next morning, Leora gathered the crew. "There is a Valeri command station, not far from here," she said. "It's hidden inside a cave temple, just beyond these cliffs. If I can reach it, I can unlock the crown shard's full power." Kale stepped forward. "I'll take you." Leora looked at Jace, still unconscious. Her heart ached, but she nodded. "Let's go." Through heavy rain and slippery rocks, Leora, Kale, and 2 others climbed toward the hidden temple. Hours passed. The storm grew worse. Finally, they reached a stone door covered in ancient Valeri symbols. Leora placed the crown shard into a circular lock. The door glowed and slid open. Inside was a glowing chamber filled with old machines, crystals, and light. She stepped to the center, placed her hand on a control panel, and spoke in her native tongue. "By the light of the fallen, awaken." The crown shard floated above the panel, spinning fast. Lines of code appeared in the air. Energy filled the room. The ancient systems lit up. Valeri. Warships hidden across the galaxy received signals. Old weapons came online. Sleeping satellites turned their gaze toward the Dominion. Leora stood tall. "The Queen has returned," she said. Back at the ship, Jace slowly opened his eyes. Ren smiled. "You're awake." Jace sat up, weak but alive. "Where's Leora?" he asked. "She went to unlock the shard." Jace's eyes narrowed. "She'll need backup." Just then, the cave door opened again. Leora and Kale stepped out, faces lit. With victory behind them, the sky flashed not with lightning, but with blue light from above. Valeri ships had arrived. Answering the call, Leora looked up, then down at her people. "The time has come," she said. "Now we rise together." The sky above Stormvile 9 was no longer just dark and stormy. It was alive with the bright lights of Valeri warships emerging from the clouds. Sleek and powerful, their ships glided down like silver hawks ready for battle. On the ground, Queen Leora stood tall among her allies. Around her were human resistance fighters and Valeri warriors united under one cause, to fight the Dominion and free the galaxy from its cruel rule. Commander Jace Thorne, his wound healed but his spirit stronger, stood beside Leora. Together, they looked over the battlefield ahead. The Dominion's fleet was massive, filled with warships that blotted out the stars. "This is our moment," Jace said quietly. "No matter what happens, we fight as one." Leora nodded. "The Dominion took everything from my people and many others. Today we take it back." Valeri warriors raised their weapons, the humans tightened their grips on their rifles, and the allied ships hummed with power. Suddenly, the enemy fleet opened fire. Bright energy blasts streaked through space, exploding against the shields of the Valerian human ships. The battle had begun, in the thick of space. Valeri ships soared and weaved between enemy fire. Jace commanded one of the fastest fighters, dodging blasts and returning fire with sharp precision. "Protect the capital ship," he shouted over the comms. The capital ship was Leora's flagship, a symbol of hope for all Valeri. Leora stood on the bridge of her ship watching the battle unfold. She felt the weight of her people's hopes on her shoulders, but also the strength of their trust. "We fight not just for survival, but for freedom," she said to the crew. Hold the line. On the battlefield, General Kale led a ground strike team. They had landed on a nearby Dominion base to disable their weapon systems. Explosions rocked the base as Kale and his warriors pushed forward. The Dominion soldiers fought fiercely, but the Valari's determination was stronger. For Valerian, Kale yelled as his team broke through the final gate. Back on the flagship, an alarm sounded. Incoming Dominion boarding party. Jace and Leora prepared to defend the ship. The enemy soldiers stormed the decks, but human and Valeri fighters met them with fierce resistance. Leora fought side by side with Jace, her movements quick and precise. Years of battle had not been wasted. A Dominion soldier lunged at her, but Jace blocked the attack and pushed the enemy away. We survived this together, Jace said with a fierce smile. Leora nodded, feeling a fierce fire inside her. This fight was no longer hers alone, it was theirs. After hours of battle, the Dominion fleet began to falter. Ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. The Allied forces pushed forward, breaking the enemy's control. In the sky, a great cheer rose as the Dominion's flag fell from the capital ship. On the ground, Kale and his team secured the Dominion base. The remaining soldiers surrendered. Leora addressed her people over the Comes Valeri. Humans, all free worlds today, we stand united. Our chains are broken. This is the dawn of a new era. Her words echoed across the galaxy, filling hearts with hope. Later, as calm returned, Jace and Leora stood on the deck of the flagship, looking out at the stars. You were right, Jace said. You were the spark we needed. Leora smiled softly. And you were the hand that helped me rise. They stood together, not just as queen and soldier, but as partners in a new future. The galaxy was still vast and full of challenges, but with hope rekindled and allies by their side, the war against the Dominion was far from over. Together, they would rebuild, reclaim, and restore peace.